name is Alice Jasper, and I'm the program director with People First Economy. That is the wrong slide, so my apologies. Let's get over here. Um, what we're going to be talking about today is Becoming Good for Michigan, which is a program that we at People First Economy provide to help support businesses in access to implementing sustainability practices, the resources and the measurements inherent to that. So really excited to kind of kick off. We're really partnering proudly today with PMBC and want to talk a little bit about what sustainability means, in tandem with supply chain practices, both as a supplier and also within the context of your own supply chain. So really excited to have y'all today. And I guess I'll pass things off to Joe before I dig a bit deeper into who People First Economy is and our introductions. But I think Joe can kind of help set the stage for why we're gathered here this afternoon. So go ahead, Joe.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Alice. Really happy to be here today. Thank you all for joining. My name is Joe Tyler. I'm a program specialist with the Pure Michigan Business Connect. We're a division of the Michigan Economic Development Corporation with a specific focus on business-to-business connections. So a quick background on what it is that we do. Pure Michigan Business Connect is PMBC for short. We focus on identifying demand and buyers, wherever they might be. That can be in the state of Michigan, across the US, even across the world, with the end goal of connecting them to Michigan-based suppliers. So we work across any and every industry. It can be products, services, consulting, professional services, and the such. Really no area that we don't touch. But an increasing area of focus for us has been in the space of sustainability, generally speaking. And that can be environmental sustainability, social governance, all those aspects there. And to that end, we've partnered with Alice and Kathleen with People First Economy to really better round out our solutions to that end and to help Michigan companies either pursue this journey or those who are along the road with it already to find opportunities to match up with partners that are interested in having supply chains and networks that are sustainable, generally speaking. So we have kicked off this partnership. This is really the first formal concrete step here. We're excited to have you on the webinar to begin it. But we're looking to have companies in Michigan join the Good for Michigan program. And there will be a few benefits in our eyes for doing so. One is by getting the Good for Michigan designation, we hope to better connect you to partners throughout the state or country or world who are interested in sustainable-minded organizations. One aspect of our business is what we refer to as supplier research. So we'll have companies and organizations contact us looking for Michigan-based businesses that do a variety of services. And so if we have a Good for Michigan designation that is linked with a profile that we keep in our database, we can better connect you to those opportunities. In the future, we also hope to host a sustainability supplier showcase that would feature companies such as yourself that have gone through the Good for Michigan program, where we would then connect you to end buyers and organizations who would be interested in matching with you. So we see a few strong outcomes that come from this partnership and relationship right off the bat here. But those are just a few of our ideas, an overview of PMBC in its whole there. And if there are any questions you have after this webinar, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. My colleague Katie Till is also on the call as well, and so the two of us will really be heading up this partnership on the PMBC side. But appreciate you again for being here. Want to thank Alice and Kathleen as well. And I will turn it back over to Alice to get into the bulk of the conversation here.
Thanks so much, Joe. Yeah, so today what we're going to do is just talk a little bit about who we are at People First Economy and our Good for Michigan program, which works to really meet businesses wherever they are at in their sustainability journey, in hopes that some of the tools and resources within our program and in partnership with PMBC and the MEDC, of course, there's my dog, that's Penny, in hopes that we can support y'all with kind of starting to measure and improve your social and environmental sustainability practices around supply chain, but also more broadly. So we're going to talk through a little bit about that. What is sustainability as we define it, the types of tools that we use to support businesses with, and then what it means to be part of the Good for Michigan program and how we're hoping to connect the Good for Michigan program alongside of PMBC as they also work to kind of evolve their investment in sustainability best practices. And how all of this connects into supply chain, being part of supply chain and also for your supply chain. We'll definitely hold some space for some questions towards the end, but in the interim, please feel free to drop things in the chat. Kathleen, my colleague with People First Economy, will be here and keeping an eye on that. So please don't hesitate as things come up. So let's get started. So People First, we are an economic development nonprofit organization. We have three main programs, and we really believe that businesses, that vibrant communities can really thrive when we think about how we can put people first. Communities are made up of, not just businesses, but your neighbors, companies who are working and who care about, using business as a force for good, nonprofit organizations, municipalities, all of these, individuals and entities kind of come together to make our economic ecosystem. And so we provide different programming to help for folks to kind of come in through different avenues and help us build an economy in Michigan that really does put people first. Our first program is Local First of West Michigan. This is definitely our oldest program. We've been around for 20 years now throughout this work. And this really works to help support local businesses, working to kind of elevate and convene West Michigan's place-based business community. So if you are in West Michigan and are interested in learning more about this membership program, please, drop something in the chat and we'd be happy to kind of follow up with you. But really working around, the impacts and value of centering a place-based economy. Our next program that we have is among our younger programs. It's called the Impact Project. And this works to connect local and state policies and policymakers with business communities, especially small business communities, and wanting to make sure that the businesses that we work with around the state have access to the education and the platforms to speak into any legislation or policies that are going to impact the ways that they do business, and particularly those policies that will help them to that will help facilitate being able to use business as a force for good. And last but certainly not least is our Good for Michigan program, and this is the program we'll be talking about primarily today. Which is really designed to support companies who want to have positive and measurable impacts on their employees, their local communities, their natural environment, and help to create a more inclusive and resilient economic ecosystem in our state. So how do these things tie together? Some of you may have heard of ESG, environmental, social, and governance. And these issues have always mattered because they collectively speak to sustainability and managing the long-term health of a company, but also our economy more broadly. We're seeing, as Joe was saying, and, part of the reason that this partnership kind of came together is because there's a growing demand from consumers, from institutional buyers, from other businesses, where expectations from a company are no longer solely based on buying goods at the cheapest price. And there's more demand and more awareness around where companies source their raw materials, the environmental impact of their supply chains, and really wanting to help support companies, whether you are a supplier or a buyer or both, in being able to plug into these opportunities and being prepared for this kind of growing demand for social and environmental sustainability practices. So I like to define sustainability and how we define it rather as a people first economy, because some people, based on your sector or wherever you're working, can have different definitions of it. Some people hear sustainability and they think more around solely the environmental impacts, which are certainly a huge component of sustainability. But at People First Economy, we really believe in those three pillars of people, planet, and profit, and not how they operate in silo, but really how they intersect and interact within the constellations of our economy. People, the impacts of people also impact the ways that we treat our environment. People say environmental justice is social justice. So we really work to kind of tie together all of these different components because data suggests, and we believe that what really makes a business sustainable is one that is able to really support these three separate pillars and all of the ways that they interact within their business and the impacts that their businesses have. So just kind of breaking that down a little bit more, environmental impacts that we support companies with measuring and improving are things like the actions that your company might be taking around environmental justice, carbon offset, water and land protection practices, right? We are, stewards of the Great Lakes, which make up 20% of the world's natural water. So, helping to provide some opportunities to make sure that those lakes and access to fresh water continue to be around for your business and for, all Michiganders. We also look at community impact, which includes things like charitable giving, community impacts investments, your supply chain, how you're kind of working alongside of your neighbors. Impacts on workforce. So these can this includes measuring and improving impacts around your employee wellness, worker ownership models, hiring practices, inclusion in the workplace, et cetera. And last but not least is stakeholder governance, which really kind of shifts away from the shareholder mindset and works to incorporate and expand beyond just shareholders, but helping businesses to consider everybody who has a stake in their business, whether that's their supply chain, their employees, also natural resources, their communities, helping businesses to kind of improve some of that transparency and the accountability and who they're taking, who they're considering when they're making impacts through that pertain to social and environmental justice. So we at Good for Michigan have a couple of different programs that we partner with that are not part of our program necessarily, but we work to grow alongside of these different statewide, national, and global movements. And these really help us to provide, again, national and global best practices of social and environmental sustainability. And apply them with a place-based lens to the Michigan business communities that we work with. And apologies if you can hear my dog panting in the background. Again, she's here, she's very present. So one of them is My New Economy. Folks might have heard this come out a few years ago from the governor's office. And what we really do is kind of work to identify within the My New Economy and kind of statewide economic development goals moving forward, how those goals align to some of the other larger global strategies within social and environmental sustainability. So if this is something you're familiar with, the My New Economy plan, this really does align and translate into the different metrics and best practices that we center through our Good for Michigan program. The next movement that we do a lot of work with and is part of how we help to measure, help companies with measuring their impacts is the United Nations Global Compact. So this is the world's largest corporate sustainability initiative that works to, again, measure all of those different components of sustainability that I spoke about earlier. The United Nations Global Compact created something called the Sustainable Development Goals, and there are 17 of them. And this is a multi-year strategy that works to help businesses in kind of collective action and working towards these sustainable development goals by the year 2030. So there, all of the different sustainability goals that they have highlighted have their own internal assessments, which I can kind of, I'll share my screen in a moment to kind of show you what that dashboard looks like and how we help companies to measure by using the SDG Action Manager or the Sustainable Development Goals Action Manager. But these aren't just used by individual businesses, they're also used by larger institutional buyers, they're used by small businesses, but they're used by also government entities, they're used by entire cities or communities to help really make sure that we are all, again, creating those place-based or community-based approaches to sustainability while working towards the same global goals. So these are kind of what the goals look like that you'll see if you were to log into the Action Manager and use some of these measurement tools. Each of these goals has its own mini assessment. So there's about 30 questions pertaining to each one of these. And these kind of help companies to get a clearer sense of how they are currently aligning with these broader goals, and also where there's opportunities to improve and where there's opportunities to celebrate the things that you may already be doing. Next larger movement that we're a part of is B Corporation. So some folks may have heard of B Corporation. It's a third-party certification where companies utilize a very rigorous sustainability assessment. And then once they've gone through that assessment, they get a third-party audit by a nonprofit organization called B Lab to kind of make sure that their practices and policies as a business are in keeping with their assessment responses. And what it's meant to be is really a kind of a third-party audit, sort of a verification so that, you know, consumers, purchasers, all of the stakeholders aligned with the business are able to make sure that the business is really walking the talk. So you'll see kind of in the background some of the both state, Michigan-based and national and international businesses that are currently B Corp certified, but there are over 4,000 B Corp certified companies in the world, spreading across 78 different countries. So it's good for Michigan. We are the kind of the partners to this B Corp work. And we work to use some of the same assessment tools that these huge companies are using to measure their sustainability impacts, and work to make sure that those same tools are accessible, understandable, relatable to you and your businesses, while still leaning into these kind of holistic global standards of sustainability impacts. Really quick, I'm gonna exit out of here, please. There transitions, but I wanted to kind of share my screen for just a moment and kind of show folks what this dashboard experience looks like. Working very well, but let's see here. Apologies. Does anybody have any questions while I'm kind of fumbling through the technology pieces right now so far?
I have a question. This is Jordette with the Applewhite Agency. So we're a pending B Corp as of last year. We have that 1 year to get everything in order for a B Corp certification. So are there any resources to support with that to guide along the way? Okay, Alice, it seems like you might be coming to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm actually a trained B Corp consultant, and we're going to be offering more of those resources a little bit later this fall. So we can share some more information with you on support towards your certification.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. So this is what your dashboard would look like if you were to become part of Good for Michigan. You'll see that both the assessments I just talked about, again, these global sustainability assessments, are available to you through the same dashboard. A lot of the questions on both the Sustainable Development Goals tool and the B Impact Assessment tool are going to be identical. And so once you fill out some questions on one of the assessments, it'll automatically populate into the other assessment platform. And the reason that this is really helpful is because as businesses are starting to, we see this growing demand for sustainable supply chain, and buyers are starting to look at and require things like impact reports. So both of these tools can help you not only in turn measure your own impacts around social and environmental sustainability, but also we can support you in learning how to effectively measure your current impacts for buyers moving forward. So you'll see here that this is the way that the Sustainable Development Goals are broken down. Some of these pertain more to supply chain than others, but you'll be able to kind of go through these, look at some best practices here. It'll cover different aspects of supply chain and what makes a supply chain sustainable, whether that's local, environmental, social impacts. And then you're also able to pull reports, use benchmarking tools to see how your company lines up to other similar companies of other companies of similar sizes and sectors. So it's a really awesome tool that we utilize as a partner to the broader global movements around sustainability. And with Good for Michigan, what we do is help to make this an accessible tool for you. Sometimes we realize things can get jargony. You might not understand how a certain question pertains to your company. So we're really here to help make sure that this is as user-friendly, as impactful, as it can be for you to, again, not just measure where there's opportunities to improve, but also to celebrate where you're already doing well. I can't tell you how many times we've had businesses utilize these assessment tools and come back and say, I didn't even realize that, we've just been doing this intuitively. We didn't even realize that we are, doing some of the best work in this space, in the country. So it can be a really helpful way to create kind of a tailored roadmap for what next steps can look like for your company. And I should also say that these tools there's over 70 different tracks of these tools. So essentially, once you fill out your profile information, like the type of industry you're in, the size of your business, the type of model you have, then the assessment will automatically put you on one of those 70 plus tracks that helps to more effectively measure your business's impact. So for example, a small coffee shop or a private consultant are going to have different opportunities for social and environmental impacts and sustainability than a huge manufacturer. So these assessments, once you fill out the profile, it's really going to make sure that it's tailored to the opportunities for celebration and improvement that are unique to your business. And then we work with you to identify those and also connect you to the resources for the next steps in where you're hoping to go with your sustainability journey. So back to slide deck here. So some of the things that the sustainability movements that Good for Michigan is leading is our Good for Michigan campaign. And part of the work that we do within Good for Michigan is help companies with B Corp, but it's not exclusively. And something that we like to say, because we're affiliated with B Corp, sometimes folks assume that we're only here to, help companies get to that one end goal of B Corp certification. And we are not. We often say internally that we are not B Corp or bust. So we really want to make programs that are accessible to folks wherever they are at on their sustainability journey. So if companies use one of the two tools that I just went through, either they take a 30-question kind of aggregate assessment of the Sustainable Development Goals. They don't have to complete all of them, but just sort of the entry assessment, or 25% of the B impact assessment that's also featured there on your dashboard, then a company is automatically part of the Good for Michigan campaign for 2 years. And what that means is we'll support you with free technical assistance and consultation around measuring your current sustainability impacts, help to connect you with the resources that can help you move forward. So whether that's we want to do a recycling audit, or we need some support with writing a new HR policy, we work to connect you with most of our resources are place-based. But we also work with a lot of really amazing experts from around the country who are leading the work in sustainability and can connect you with those folks as well. So really the goal through our Good for Michigan program is to just celebrate folks that are just starting to take those steps or have been doing sustainability work for many, many years. We want to celebrate you wherever you're at in that journey and help to get you to the next step. And I think we like to say that a lot because some folks, I think, tend to feel like because they haven't been doing sustainability or they're not currently doing all the things that they might like to, that means that there's going to be some level of judgment for them not doing it. But that's really not the case. The key here is just wanting folks to start to measure and manage and improve wherever you are. So part of the Good for Michigan process really starts with using the SDG Action Manager or the B-Impact Assessment tool to get that comprehensive baseline and kind of set a bearing as to where you currently are. Then we work with your business, look at your current impacts, celebrate the company's current achievements and positive impacts, and identify opportunities for improvement. So we provide you with that technical assistant consultation, as well as an impact report and resource report. And then we kind of help you create a roadmap. So figuring out where you want to go, what are the next steps, what is your, Mario Brothers eats the mushroom levels up version of your business, helping to kind of create the roadmap to get there. And then finally, making sure that you have all of those resources so that as you take those next steps, you feel supported and it helps to remove some of the barriers for being more sustainable. We realize that traditionally sustainability has been mostly available to much larger corporations who can maybe afford to have somebody who leads sustainability work for their company. But at People First, a lot of what we try to do is try to make sustainability practices more accessible, especially to smaller businesses. Whether you're just starting or you've been around for 50 years, wanting to help make them make these practices as available and barrier-free as we possibly can. Some of the other ways that we support individual businesses through the Good For program, as I said, celebration is a big part. It's not just about telling you how you can do better, but also recognizing that it takes time, energy, resources, money, capacity to even just start on your sustainability journey. So this is a quick kind of screen grab from one of our annual Good for Michigan award spreads that we take out in MyBiz every year. This is one of the winners that we had. If folks are familiar with Ordock Brewing up in Marquette, Michigan, they were one of our Good for Michigan program participants. They took 25% of the B-Impact assessment and demonstrated that they're doing a lot of really great things for the environment. And maybe they're not B Corp right now. Maybe that's not even where they feel like they want to go in their sustainability journey, but wanted to take the opportunity to elevate and highlight what these businesses are doing around social and environmental impacts. We're going to have our next MyBiz spread celebrating this year's award winners coming out in a few weeks. And we're actually also going to have our Good for Michigan award ceremony at Bell's Brewery in Kalamazoo on October 26th to celebrate the small businesses that we've worked with who have started measuring their impacts and are doing really well. So there's opportunities here to really kind of help get your business elevated around just the work that you're already doing to use your business as a force for good. So again, some of the benefits for being part of the Michigan campaign are excuse me, support with the impact measurement through the SDGs and B-Impact assessment tools, access to free sustainability consultation with one of our team members. You'll get a free impact performance report and resource guidance support, opportunities to be featured in broader regional and statewide business publication and media platforms, eligible for our Good for Michigan Award ceremony and feature in the MyBiz. You'll have access to our Good for Michigan digital and physical assets as well. We also have a directory on our website through People First Economy for Good for Michigan folks for around the state that has some really great filter tools so people can look for different industries, types of ownership, regional, whatever they're hoping to find. looking for businesses that are aligned with their sustainability values. By becoming part of Good for Michigan, you'll be featured in this directory. And then we also have an online platform that we use. It's called Mighty Networks, for all of our Good for Michigan businesses around the state, so that you're able to kind of share best practices, talk about challenges, wins, things like that, in a virtual community space. So another, I guess, one of the other things that I really kind of wanted to highlight too is just that from a sustainable supply chain perspective, that our partnership with PMBC here can really kind of provide folks with support in being a sustainable supplier. So if you're starting to encounter buyers who are looking for impact reporting to ensure that their own supply chain is sustainable, this is a great opportunity to kind of start to learn how to utilize these tools and get some support with just reporting where you currently are and figuring out what next steps would be most helpful for your company. It can also help you build out your own sustainable supply chain. So looking at the impacts around place-based economy, around the environmental impacts of your own supply chain, the ethics and human rights components of your supply chain. We can work with you to measure and improve those practices. And then also there's a lot more interest, not just by institutional buyers looking for sustainable suppliers, but also within financial institutions. So there's growing demand for financial institutions, CDFIs, places like that, who are seeking socially and environmentally sustainable investment opportunities. So there's a number of different kind of pros to having some of these tools and being able to use them with confidence. And so what we really are here to do is to help make sure that these tools are accessible and valuable for you moving forward. Again, since I mentioned the B Corp certification, and that's certainly something that we can support companies who are interested in that with, just wanting to kind of articulate that they are not synonymous. The Good for Michigan campaign lasts for 2 years once you've taken the assessment minimums. And then you are part of that campaign moving forward, and we can provide you with some of that support. The B Corp certification is not a certification that is run by us, although we can help companies get there. But to become B Corp certified, a company has to complete 100% of the B Impact assessment with at least 80 points. They have to successfully complete the third-party verification process, complete any required legal changes to their business structure, submit an annual certification fee, and complete the certification process every 3 years. And just for clarity, to participate in the Good for Michigan program, it's completely free. In part because of our awesome relationship and partnership here with PMBC, who wants to make sure that these tools are accessible for folks. But it's a really great way to kind of get started, whether B Corp is your final destination or it doesn't feel like it'll be a good fit for you, or you're not ready for it yet. Good for Michigan is a really great step, regardless of where you're headed. Wanted to also quick highlight a few of the other ways that you can plug into People First Economy and some of the campaigns that we have. We're currently in September, which is our Nourish Our Community Month, and we talk a lot about and work to support businesses that are within Michigan's food economic ecosystem, from the dirt back into the dirt again, and all of the different steps in between. So wanting to elevate businesses that are part of that ecosystem, elevate opportunities to plug into policy advocacy spaces, and kind of collaborate with other like-minded businesses and institutions around the state that are trying to help create a people first economy within our foods ecosystem. We also do some work to celebrate called Celebrate Indie Month that we do in July, and that's to uplift independent businesses. We have our Gift Local, Gift Good holiday campaign that's coming up in a couple of months here, which it's still summer in my head, so I don't want to really think about holidays quite yet, but we work to, again, elevate businesses and business practices that align with consumer and business values in purchasing. And then last but not least, money campaign that we have in April that really talks about the importance of, aligning with values aligned financial institutions, also for consumer best practices and how they can work with financial institutions that are either place-based, whether they're, CDFIs or co-ops, wanting to help folks kind of connect and learn more about the ways that we can kind of better use our financial systems to create a more sustainable future and the economy that puts people first. So, does anybody have any questions? Because I just threw a lot of information at folks and some questions here, but so please feel free if anybody would like me to go back to anything or anything like that.